Gearing up for race day here with the Super Pole race and race 2. It's time for warm-up for the World Superbikes to head out there on the circuit. We had a delay. We've got 6 minutes to go. Let's cross over now. Ready to go.
For some riders, we saw Locatelli leave the pits and come straight back into the pits. He might well be trying to use this session to practice that pit entry and see if he's able to find a little bit more time on it.
One rider who's actually gone in and out is Michael van der Mark, out and in. He's back into pit lane now. Michael van der Mark had a big crash at turn 1 yesterday. Seemed to be all right from his side, but maybe a case of the bike not in perfect condition.
Yeah, and for Van der Mark, it could be a case you go out, you make sure everything's okay, you come back into the pits. Big crash at turn 1, you're 325 k's an hour on the run in towards turn 1. A lot of energy goes through you whenever you have a crash like Mikey had, and for the bike, you want to just make sure everything's right. But that's what the warm-up session's for. You got 10 minutes to double-check everything.
He was the second crash at turn 1. Actually, Jari Montella, this man's teammate this season in World Superbike, all had a big crash on his debut in the class. Fortunately, the number 5 seems to be pretty okay and will be on the grid again today to be able to battle for his first points in the class. Actually, he was 13th in Superpole yesterday, so not too bad of a performance, a first performance in Superpole in World Superbike. Meanwhile, his teammate we saw on our screen a few minutes ago is up to 4th in this session. He was 4th in the race yesterday. He's been 4th basically all weekend. Just
to say as well, I saw a quick glimpse of Sam Lowe's there, fastest man in this session so far after our first couple of laps. Set the second fastest lap in the race yesterday. Really struggled in the first stint with the front tyre and grip on that, but once he came in and changed the tyre, suddenly the bike was energised for him. Suddenly he felt a lot better. He was able to make progress. Came through in Derby Aguilar and then came through in Javi Vieira to come away with a top 10 finish. I thought it was a good sign that last year the lessons have been learned for Sam. He was patient in that first stint, and then whenever the opportunity arose, he was able to ride hard and let the race come back to him.
And actually, Steve, yesterday in the race, there were quite a few of the Ducatis using that harder front tyre in the race, which you'd mentioned before throughout the weekend has been a little bit of a struggle for them in the past and at Phillip Island. What changed really for them to be able to go for that option?
Well, it's one of those situations where when you speak to Bautista in particular, who very rarely likes that harder SC2 front tyre, he said that you can see Toprak there just taking the escape road and able to bail on it, and we've seen that a few times for Toprak so far this weekend, where he's struggled a little bit to get that bike stopped and turned, and he just doesn't have the grip that he wants. And you can see there he just managed to know that he wasn't going to get into the corner and quick thinking just to take that escape road. But for the Ducatis, it doesn't seem that there's as big of a difference between those two tyres for them here this weekend. I'd be very surprised if we go to Assen in particular and you've got Ducati saying, do you know what, we quite like this harder front tyre, because it's not the tyre that usually that bike is tuned for.
And I was going to mention perhaps if there's something to do with the temperatures, but quite often in World Superbike and with those Pirelli tyres, especially when we're talking about the rears as well, when the temperatures seem to rise, a lot of the time it has seemed to be more favourable towards the softer compounds in particular.
I think in terms of what we have here at Phillip Island as well, you've got a very different circuit characteristic. When we go to Europe, you're heavy braking on the entry, it's slow in, fast out. Phillip Island is fast in and fast out, and such a different style of riding. And when all the riders come here, they all love the fact that they've got a very different challenge. It's all about being able to carry that corner speed, fast mid-corner, and give yourself those opportunities. Whereas when we go to a lot of our other circuits, it's the opposite of that. So that could be a factor as well, just having that extra stability from the front. But it just comes down to the feel on the track and what you're comfortable with.
So Nicola Buliga moving back to the top of the timesheet where he's belonged all of this week with just 2 minutes on the clock of 128.9.
It's a great lap from Buliga again in this session, third of a second faster than Alex Lowe's and Sam Lowe's. But Nagashima deserves a bit of credit there as well. He's just popped up into the top 10 on the Honda Development Team bike, and that bike is quite different actually to the HRC bike. I was down chatting to the team about what their plan and their structure is with this team, and the big thing is that they're developing effectively further road bike to then develop into the next superbike, and they're trying to figure out what they can do step by step to make the base of this bike ever improving. So it's quite a different package out there compared to what the HRC bikes have.
Actually, Nagashima right now is the top Honda on the timing sheet. Xavi Vierta is down in 15th position. Ika Quona, of course, declared unfit after a crash yesterday in Superpole, and two MIE Petronas riders a bit further down the time sheet. Actually, Zakwan Zaidi didn't qualify for yesterday's race. He's been given another opportunity in warm-up to be able to set a lap time. Obviously, you have a 105% minimum lap time compared to the fastest lap in the session to be able to qualify. Right now, he's still not there.
Yeah, he's still 0.8 of a second off that qualifying time, so unlikely that we'll see Zaidi on the grid. We haven't seen Michael van der Mark come back out during this session as well, so he did his one lap and then came back into the pits, so we'll keep an eye on that for Mikey over the next few hours before the Superpole race.
Yeah, only 33 seconds on the clock now for the number 60 to be able to get back out onto the track and see if everything's working. Doesn't seem like that will be the case so far, so obviously that big crash yesterday, perhaps condition and everything was going on within the team. But we're getting our final laps now on the clock. Not many riders on course improve really their position on the track on the timesheet right now. Only Andrea Locatelli up with a fast first sector, but he would remain in 7th position. Locatelli, top Yamaha yesterday. There wasn't much competition perhaps for that, and here we've got the number 60 actually, and you can see
they're taking it out just to start at the pit lane there. Mikey isn't able to leave the circuit now just because of the red flag will be out, but you can see there for the team they were just trying to make sure that the bike would start, so maybe just a small technical issue there for Van der Mark in this morning's warm-up session. But the good thing is we've had a lot of running through the course of the week. He knows what the bike can do, and he rode well yesterday. He was in that lead group of that second position down, and for Van der Mark he was right there with Top Rack yesterday,
and he qualified well, which was a very big difference to a lot of the sessions that we had last year, particularly at the start of last season with Phillip Island. He was on the 5th, 6th row. Yesterday he qualified 7th.
Yeah, Mikey last year he had a lot of crashes in Superpole sessions. There was 4 sessions I think he had a crash in Superpole. The other 8 sessions he was actually quite competitive, but for Van der Mark it's about trying to get that clear lap in, because if you qualify down the field in World Superbikes you've got no chance of making progress. Now it's so close out there between all the different teams and riders.
There were a couple of tents yesterday basically splitting positions 6th down to 12th or 13th. It was a very, very tight field yesterday in Superpole.
Just looking at Alex Lowe's here, just tagging onto the back of Top Rack as well, and for Lowe's, good consistency in this session. 29.3 is his fastest lap, and last time around he was still in the 29s, and now on the what will be the end of his 8th lap in the session, he comes across line 29.4 within a 10th of a second, so his delta for 8 laps is a 10th of a second there. He's going to be pretty pleased with that stint. Temperature's gone down, maybe that's helped the Bimota a little bit find some grip.
We can expect it to go up a little bit though. There's still 2 hours until we get running for the Superpole race, and we saw yesterday the temperatures rose a lot around about midday. Yesterday we did have a very hot wind around the track, which kind of lifted everything up a little bit more. It's not the same now. Track temperatures do seem to have, the whole temperature, air temperature seems to have dropped by a few degrees, but still some time until the Superpole race.
Yeah, and it will get hotter as the day goes on. What's been good so far, and you touch wood on this one around here, the wind isn't coming in off the land, so it's not that warming sandy wind that we've had from the desert. It's much more comfortable this morning compared to yesterday, where we had 37 degrees air temperature, but the wind chill was a +7 or 8 compared to what was actually getting the readout. So it felt like it was 45 degrees. It was humid, it was difficult out there yesterday. Everyone struggled, and the same is the case for the riders on the bike.
I must say, with a nice air conditioned commentary booth right now, but when you walked outside it hit you like a stack of bricks. It was extremely hard conditions for everybody yesterday, right down from midday. Actually in Superpole even it was quite hard, and the race was just quite extraordinary.
You can see Bulaga there on the pit entry, a little bit of an endo, so he's pushing hard on that pit entry. Just to understand that as well, you have to make sure you're able to pick a breaking point for pit entry around here, just so that you're able to have that extra confidence coming into the pits that this is what I have to do to be able to gain a little advantage.
Nicola, we'll see if they do that pit stop practice now for that Rubai Team Ducati team. Obviously Bulaga getting on the inside, both riders parallel for their pit stops. They were both in basically the same time yesterday, the same lap, just a 5-second difference between them, but they did their
an amazing then warm-up session, and we'll be back with live coverage of race 2, and of course first up the Superpole race at 1:50 AM British Summer Time. We'll see you then. Bye bye.